If I don't know the person talking, I'm not as interested in sitting there watching them talk. I'd rather see video clips from the show. But believe me, as a creator, I'm more frustrated than you are as the viewer right now. If you're one of those people that randomly clicked on this video and you're about to click away because there's not going to be any video clips in this, it's not my fault. I hate it too. I absolutely hate the fact I can't put video clips in these videos. The reason I can't is because I've tried many times over before. Occasionally, like my walkthrough of the show Detective from 2020, I get away with putting a whole bunch of video clips in there and YouTube doesn't stop me. But the vast majority of these shows, I basically guarantee, even though I've seen other people use video clips from it, I don't know how they do it, because when I try to use video clips, I get nailed for it. My video gets blocked and nobody can see it, so there's no reason for it to be on YouTube because nobody can see it. So I can't use video clips because I've tried, and like a ton of them before, like for instance Legend of Chisen / Noble Aspirations. I tried using video clips from that one and YouTube blocked them all. Aichia has its own channel on YouTube, and some of the other Chinese stations have channels on YouTube, and if any of these things are on their channel, they instantly block videos that use stuff. Or at least when I try it. Other people, like I say, have done it and they've managed to do it, and I don't know how because I try and it doesn't work. So, whatever. I'm more frustrated than you are, believe me. I have to stick with using pictures. But this is supposed to be the wrap-up of everything that I was doing with Jialun. I believe that he is an epic actor, and every single one of his characters stood out for one or more reasons. They all had something extremely unique about them that made them stand out very much, and every single one of the roles, even if I got furious at the show, or even if I just didn't like the show, or I got let down by the show, or whatever, thanks to like script writing and like whatever, I don't blame Jialun for any of it, because the vast majority of what I got frustrated with, as far as I can tell, like everything is the scriptwriter's fault. Because they were using some kind of plot device or whatever that took the character, as far as I'm concerned, out of character. If your story is driving your characters rather than your characters driving your story, i.e. if you're like, I want this and this and this to happen, and everybody's like, but none of the characters would actually do this, and you're like, I don't care, I want it to happen anyway, this and this and this are going to happen, period. That is really bad script writing. There's character-driven dramas, that's what I call it, when it's like basically just day-to-day life, like Forever and Ever, where there's not a whole lot of necessarily action per se. It's like day-to-day living, basically, like the ins and outs of relationships with people and all that kind of stuff. Like even Miss Crow and Mr. Lizard, that was also a character-driven drama. Versus like the action ones, total action, like One and Only and Under the Power and Blue Whisper and like all of that kind of stuff. And then of course there's the dramas that are half and half, and I like those too. But ones that are like 90% or more character driven and there's not much action happening, they're boring. But at the same time, your characters still need to be driving the story. Even if it's an action story, your characters need to be driving it. Your story can't be driving your characters. If that's what's happening, you did a bad job at writing your story. Just putting that out there. So, actually moving on to the couples, least favorites to favorites, now that I'm at 10 minutes again anyway, but I like the way that came out better than the first time I was trying it. I did. So we'll keep it here and continue. The couples, my least favorite to my favorite, and briefly on why, which means I have to tell you just slightly what I thought of the female character. Of course, my least favorite, there's 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, and 1, 1, 1. And of all the lists, this one I'm much more sure about than I am about any of the others. So, number 6, by the way, if you have seen my series about Jialun and you want to, go ahead and pause the video for a moment and figure out who I put in what order, which couples I put in what order, and then watch this and see if you were right or not, just for the fun of it. Because if you couldn't tell what I was saying about this, what I thought of the story and stuff, and if you know anything about me, I'm curious how close you can get. Like I say, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. And this is the couples, my least favorite to favorite. Who do you think is where? Number 6, least favorite. It should be obvious. Changyi and Yunha from Blue Whisper. That was not love. As far as I ever saw through the entire thing, it was not love. It was intensely self-centered on Yunha's part. I don't care how much she pretended that she loved him and was doing things for him. She wasn't. It was 100%. Everything was for herself. Nothing was for Changyi, like, ever. And then Changyi was, like, driven by fate and taken out of character and just in order to end up with her. So that, I don't even consider them a couple, because that was not at all love. It never reached the point of being love. It was just infuriating. The two that I have in number 5 are Mooching and Kuching from Never Say Goodbye, and Lu Yang and Dang Dang from 1,000 Years for You. Mooching and Kuching, and yes, there's going to be spoilers through this, because, like, you know, there has to be, so watch out. Mooching and Kuching from Never Say Goodbye. Mostly it's her fault, because I understand that she got messed up because of the position in life that she's in and the things that changed, everything she's been through. That's actually pretty, like, kind of horrifying when you think about what happened with her and how she got to be who she is now and all the rest of that stuff. But still, her relationship with him is just largely, I mean, you can be a couple or you can be co-workers. You can't be both. You suck big time at being both. I know that she loves Mooching and she doesn't want him to die and all the rest of that stuff, but at the same time, she did so many things throughout that drama that were actually really, really, really stupid. As an undercover cop, she did some things that were really, really, really stupid in the name of supporting and protecting Mooching. I'm like, you were actually putting him in more danger because the things you were doing were way too suspicious and really stupid, and actually took way too long for anybody to realize that she was that suspicious and stupid, because she was way too suspicious and stupid to actually be getting away with what she was doing. Really. It was kind of like really over the top. And then seriously, what she did with him at the end when, like, her job is done, so she's free from all this, he wasn't yet. And yet, she now must be with him all the time and completely break his, like, focus and concentration, and therefore made him kind of stupid within the last few episodes because, like, he was being so badly distracted by her, and he was no longer doing his job properly thanks to her. So I'm like, even though that drama ended with those two, like, still being co-workers and continuing on with the undercover work in other areas and all the rest of that stuff, and it's supposed to be so cool and all that stuff, I don't find it cool. They should have been a couple or co-workers. They are terrible at being both. I swear. Back in the past, Mooching and Rong Yu, it seemed like they were actually doing a pretty good job of being both, but not Mooching and Kuching. So, like, they've got some serious issues to work through before I would like that couple much. And then Lu Yang and Dang Dang, they even say within the drama, I can't remember which one, I think it was possibly Dang Dang, that was, like, her thoughts were what we could hear, but Lu Yan and Dang Dang, they say within the drama that they both thought they understood love and all that stuff at the beginning, but they didn't really, and as the show continues, like, as it progresses and they get to know each other, they realize what love actually is and all the rest of the stuff and what it means to be together and all of that. And I'm like, kudos to you for acknowledging and understanding that that's what's happening, but still, it's kind of disappointing, and this is like major spoilers for the end of that show. It's like really super, super frustrating. Their whole relationship, I'm like, isn't this supposed to be the point of the show, is them ending up together? I mean, what everything that happened in the past, and then now you've got the present, isn't the point and purpose supposed to be like them ending up together and him having a happy life and stuff because of everything that he went through in the past for her and all this stuff? And yet they aren't. In the end, there's like no communication because both of them decide, apart from each other, that they know what the answer is and they're going to go through with that. It doesn't matter, like when Lu Yan says he doesn't have to have her permission to do this, and she just decides on her own that, like, all of that stuff. And I'm like, this is not how it works when you're in a relationship. You are not supposed to be making decisions as serious as I'm going to give up my life for the other person, etc., without talking to the other person. There is like no communication between these two. It's terrible in the end of it. There's no communication. They just up and decide that they know what's best and they're going to follow through with that, and they go ahead and just do their own thing instead of actually working as an actual couple. I love them so much I'm going to just die for them without giving them a say in it. That's not how it works. No, just don't do that. And then, like, yeah, it's really frustrating that I can't tell at the end of that drama whether he's actually supposed to be alive or not. I'm pretty sure they're saying he is supposed to be alive somewhere, but I'm like, they aren't together. She supposedly loves him so much, and yet she has an inkling that he's still alive, and yet she sits around moping for an entire year and has to be, like, pushed into, like, come on, why aren't you looking for him? Come on, a whole year later. And I'm like, and you supposedly loved him so much? What the crap? And again, I like really didn't really like her by the end of the drama. I'm like I don't know. I was just really, really, really frustrated with the end of that drama and the whole way that it ended up, their whole relationship as a result of everything. So they're definitely down near the bottom of this list of favorites to least favorite, or least favorite to favorite couples. Then you have at place number 4 is tied Nalan Yue with Rong Hua and Yi Chang and He Ying from Love a Lifetime and Autumn Cicada. The reason that Nalan Yue and Rong Hua are so low is because there is so much growth needed in the trust area. Like, my word, see my whole complaint of hatreds toward her, because I can't go through the whole thing, but that was in my Love a Lifetime but never mind the trust video. Explains everything about these two and why I get so mad at them and why they are so low. The only difference between them and, like, Lian and Deng Deng, for instance, is that at the beginning of the story, there were many instances of them fully trusting each other and stuff, so I'm like, I know it's possible for these two, and it is kind of there. It just, like, stupidly got broken somehow. I can see them on a journey back to being able to trust each other, but it's a journey. They've got so much growth ahead of them. So they are fairly low because of that. And yeah, Wu Qing and Ku Qing is like, why are they lower than Nalan Yue and Rong Hua? Yeah, because they should be more mature than that. They should have reached that level for sure after everything they've been through. As being Rong Yu and Mu Qing, and then turning into Ku Qing and Mu Qing, they should definitely have gone way past this stage, and they haven't. Therefore, they're lower than Nalan Yue and Rong Hua. Rong Hua and Nalan Yue, in a way, kind of reached that point. In another way, they were much younger and had been through much less, so in a way, I can forgive them more for not being at that stage yet. Like, they haven't even been there, never mind failing and trying to grow again. Like, Mu Qing and Ku Qing definitely were here, and they dropped like crazy and never reached that point again by the end of the drama. Whereas Nalan Yue and Rong Hua, you could say it's because they were young and inexperienced and a little bit thoughtless as a result and didn't really understand things, and as they started understanding things, it got difficult, and like I say, I can see the growth happening, so I think that's why they're higher. And then you have Yi Chang, what the heck was Yi Chang and He Ying, I think that's how I say it, Heying from Autumn Cicada. I really liked them, but at the same time, like, see, the problem is that drama was not focusing in any way, shape, or form on the love, so I just didn't really feel like they were actually a romantic couple, because you see them as, like, basically coworkers and comrades and really good friends. You see them grow from her trying to kill him at the beginning of it to being a really good friend. But you never actually get to see them as a couple because of the way that show ended. Massive, massive, massive spoilers, by the way. Yi Chang is one of the few characters that Jialun's played that does actually die in the end of the drama, and he dies well on his way to see her and finally to be able to be a couple with her. Like, the love note he left her in Morse code along the seam of the dress that he made for her, that was so romantic, that was so sweet, that was so sad. But yeah, you don't actually get to see them really as a romantic couple. I mean, the most romantic thing you see them do is sit on the couch together with her head on his shoulder. Other than that, there's no indication that they're actually loving each other, except his note to her at the end. But the one special thing about that couple is, you know how I am always complaining that it is so stupidly frustrating that at some point, even with my favorite couple, even with one of my favorite couples, the trust is broken at one point. I get so furious at that. I explode. Like, every time it happens, I've exploded more than once on this channel. You know how much that frustrates me. But Yi Chang and He Ying, there is especially one scene where that trust is, like, I'm like, if anything would justify the snapping of the trust, it's that. And it didn't happen. Her trust was not broken. She asked him the right question. She was upset about the right thing. She was justified in being upset about that, and she asked him what happened with that. Like I say in Love a Lifetime, there's that one point where she asks him, "What did you do?" And I'm like, no, the question should have been, what on earth happened and why are you here? Not, what did you do? That is disgusting that that's the question that came out of her mouth. Whereas with Yi Chang and He Ying, when that guy was telling her, Yi Chong did all of this. And in a way, it's like perfectly believable that she could believe that. But at the same, like, I'm actually not entirely positive how her trust in him got to the level it did. I'm like, I really don't quite understand exactly how he proved to her that she should have that level of trust in him, but somehow he did. And when the other guy was telling her all the stuff that he supposedly did, she didn't believe that. When she faced him, when he walked in and she faced him, her question was, why didn't you tell me that these people are dead? Her question was not, you were there and you killed them? What does he mean? Her question was, why didn't you tell me they were dead? That's what upset her. She didn't believe that he was there and that he did it. The other guy told her, and supposedly he had evidence, although to me, the evidence that he brought out was kind of, how's that supposed to convince her that it's true? But anyway, the point is, her question was legitimate. Why didn't you tell me they were dead? Because he lied and said they were fine. And that is what upset her. She's like, why didn't you tell me the truth? And he says, just a minute, this is not the right time and place. So she zips it and waits. Because she knows this isn't really the time and place, no matter how upset she is. Then later on, they talk about it, and she calms down and she's fine. But that was her question. Why did you lie to me? Not, how dare you do that? Because she didn't believe it. Her trust was not broken. I'm like, oh, that was so cool. I loved it. So that's why they're so high. That is the reason that they're so high on this list, even though I never actually saw them as a romantic couple. Because that was so cool. So the couple that I had number 3 on the list is Gu Chuan and Zhao Ning from Miss Crow and Mr. Lizard. And a big reason why they're actually higher than Yi Chang and He Ying, for instance, is because I do see them as actually romantic couple versus just friends. But that couple actually frustrated me to the nth degree, like I said, because I get where she's coming from, because the way that her parents died and her being in that accident and her being unable to find the big brother that helped save her life. So I'm not sure whether she actually even knew that he did live or not. But because of the whole way it happened, where she lost her parents and all that stuff, she has a hang up about death. I think it like really freaks her out when the death topic comes up. Like, she flips out when she thinks her grandma's dying. She flips out over the cat. And I think this is because of the hang up of the trauma of the way her parents died and when they died and how they died. So in that aspect, her reactions toward Gu Chuan and his view on death, where he thinks death is a release, and like, especially like, let's use the cat as the example. Sure, spoilers. But like, the vet told them, we have done everything we can. There's literally no way to save this cat's life. It is in pain. So Gu Chuan's, the vet says the best thing you can do for this cat is to put it down, put it out of its misery. And Gu Chuan says, yes, let's do it. Because he's like, what is the point in having it live and being dragged out in its pain and misery? Why would you do that to the cat? Let it go. And she is the exact opposite. No, you have to have, it doesn't matter if it's in pain, you have to give it its final moments to say goodbye to the world. And I was so mad at her over that cat thing, not because, like, I mean, because they were equating it too much. They were using this as a metaphorical example of her and Gu Chuan. They totally were. But I'm like, she was over the top ridiculous. Just because that she thought that he put the cat down, that's the unforgivable sin. Like, literally, she treats it as the unforgivable sin. Just because she thinks that he put the cat down, she goes, I knew it! You really are a cold-hearted jerk. All of that really was just a fake when you were pretending to love me and be all warm and all that stuff. It was just fake. I knew it. Are you kidding me? That is the trust thing that breaks them up. I know there was like a bunch of other stuff that was involved too, because he was trying to push her away and he was doing a fairly good job of making it look like he'd reverted, but at the same time, I don't think it should have been convincing. Maybe it was just more of a fatigue thing because he really was that more stubborn and strong than her. So he like managed to wear her down so that she just had to give up. But like, really, it was the cat that was like the last straw. This is what proves it. And it never should have reached that point anyway, because no matter how much stronger than he was than her, no matter how fatigued she was, she had proof in front of her eyes, like actual proof that he had done this before. She saw and heard everything that he did to his parents. Now he's doing the exact same thing to her and she doesn't recognize it. Like, what is wrong with you, you blind idiot? And that is the one and only time that I was like, slap her upside the head, Guchuan's ex-girlfriend. That's the one and only time through the whole thing she's so mature and she's so cool. And then here she tells Zhao Ning, don't believe what you see and hear. Use your heart to understand. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Follow your heart. Literally, that is exactly what Zhao Ning is doing right now, is following her heart. And that is exactly why she's in this mess. What she needs to do is see and believe what she hears with her ears and sees with her eyes, i.e. all the proof of everything he's already done to his own parents, all the proof of everything he did to his ex-girlfriend, the look on his face, everything. Like, okay, she doesn't know what his health condition is, but she's got enough signs, enough experience of things they've already been through to see it. And she won't see it because she's thinking emotionally with her heart instead. And the answer is to think with your heart instead. She already is. That's why you're in a mess. Believe me. Like, are you kidding me? So, like, that was the whole trust thing being broken in a way that was absolutely absurd. Like, if he hadn't done that with the cat, maybe she wouldn't have broken up to him. She literally says, this is the final straw, the absolute proof that you're actually a horribly cold-hearted person, and etc. And I'm like, are you kidding? And then, like I say, she's constantly claiming that she understands things, and I'm like, you are proving with your actions that you don't get it. But despite all that, probably very likely because of all the things I went through with the other couples that put them lower, Guchuan and Zhao Ning are at spot 3 on my list of favorites, because she seriously needs to grow up. But there is potential there, and she did do a lot for him, and he is doing things for her that, you know, they are a pretty cute couple. The spot number 2 that I had is Zhou Shangchen and Shi from Forever and Ever, because it's a little bit awkward. I'm telling you, it's just slightly awkward that she's always the one, almost always the one initiating things and all that stuff, and I'm like, dude. But they are on a steadily growing journey. The trust level and the love that they have for each other is like genuine, and it's like there from the start, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and it's so cool. I mean, he uses the analogy within the show, like of the 2 books with the pages flipping together and then you can't pull them apart. Like when you're on a steady growth of, and yeah, the show itself proves that. Like, I can't remember which episode it is where he uses that analogy, and I'm like, yeah, that sums up this entire drama, and it's accurate. So that's why they're at spot number 2. And then, tied in spot number 1 are 3 couples. The 3 couples that are tied in spot number 1, I mean, who's left? Liu Yi and Jinjia from Under the Power, Zhou Shangchen and Shi Yi from One and Only, and Ji Cheng and Yi Bing from Blue Flame Assault. Liu Yi and Jinjia from Under the Power, I absolutely adore that couple. Literally, the only thing that made me furious at them was when she hook, line, and sinker fell for that lie she should not have hooked, line, and sinker fell for. To be highly confused, to be highly hurt, etc., over that, yes, that makes perfect sense. Do that. But to hook, line, and sinker, believe it and fall for it, and absolutely refuse to go and talk to him and straighten it out when literally everybody else is all of a sudden telling you, you know what, I think there's a misunderstanding here and you should probably go and talk to him. And she goes, no, there's no hope for us. It's over. I'm like, and it has to get to that point that it got to before she's like, oh my gosh, I was being an idiot. I'm like, but that is literally it. Absolutely everything else before that and absolutely everything else after that, I absolutely love it. And I can even mostly forgive her for that because of the way she responded when she finally did go and talk to him, and her honest to goodness, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I am so sorry for doing that. And I'm like, yes, yes. And like, she made up for it because that was a genuine, oh my gosh, that's never going to happen again. The whole, everything she did from there on out, I'm like, I love this couple. And like I say, like all the other ones where I was saying, like I was literally complaining from Love a Lifetime, would you please, somebody, make a couple where both of them are equally intelligent and farsighted and all the rest of that. Okay, maybe Jinjia isn't exactly farsighted, but she is extremely intelligent. She is such a good match for Liu Yi. She and he are so cool together. So they are definitely one of my absolute favorite couples. Then you have Zhou Shangchen and Shi Yi from One and Only. Again, those 2. Like, there is literally never once, like Yi Cheng and He Yang, there is literally never once where her trust in him falters. Ever. Like, She adores him from start to finish. She loves him. She supports him. She encourages him. She does everything for him. Like that, like I've said before, that is a picture of like, that is a brilliant portrayal of real love. What it takes to really love someone. It's not about the passionate, the extra perks that you get along the way from being with somebody. It's not about that. That's not what the love is. Those are extra perks. This is an example of what real, like, honest to goodness love is. It's amazing. Like, and they really do romantically love each other, but because of all the restrictions of his promise and her engagements to other people and stuff, they can't act on that romantic feeling, but it's definitely there. They love each other as master and disciple. They love each other as friends and comrades and fellow, like, everything. Like, the respect for each other, the trust of each other. It's, like, absolutely epic. And then the last couple is the Ji-chung and Yi-bing from Blue Flame Assault. And there again, there is a place where the trust is kind of broken, and it was a little bit like, seriously, girl. But they did such a good job of setting her character up and what kind of things she's actually dealing with from her past and like the effects it's having on her right now. The little mental problems that she's dealing with right now because of that. It actually makes sense that she would fall for it. I was actually more angry at the psychologist in that whole scenario than I was at Yi-bing, because it was actually the psychologist. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know what he's supposed to be doing right now. You know why he's with you, what you're talking about, what he's planning to go and do. And that's the way you answer the phone. And then it takes you like too long to correct like that. Like, you're a flippin' psychologist, and that's the way you answered the phone. That's the way you handled it. Are you kidding me? Fail to the nth degree. Yi-bing should not have believed it to the level that she believed it, everything that was happening, like to actually fall for the belief that those two are actually starting to be a couple was a little bit absurd. But like I say, the whole setup of it and why she ended up falling for that, it wasn't necessarily a trust issue with him. It was a trust issue in herself because of everything she'd already been through in life and how hard it is to trust people, period, and all the rest of that stuff. Like, it's actually believable. So even though I was like, most of that wasn't directed specifically at her. And like, seriously, they are an amazing couple too, because like, even though it takes forever for them to be together and all that kind of stuff, like, just an example of why they're so amazing is literally the other couple that was in that drama. I cannot remember their names now, but there's literally his, Ji-chung's best friend. They don't start out as best friends, obviously, but by the end of the drama, they're like best friends. Him and the reporter girl that likes him, like, they gave him a really, the background of his life was a really good reason for why he was rejecting her at first. And she worked so hard to convince him to be a couple with her. They're finally a couple, and I, like, literally exploded through the roof at what it was that tore them apart. As far as I can tell, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she literally took everything away from him. She said, this and this and this are why I love you. She literally destroyed this and this and this throughout the drama in order to be with him. She's like, I love the fact you're a firefighter / rescuer. I love the fact you're doing this job. And then she's literally like, stop doing that job or we can't be together. She claimed she understood stuff, and it made it sound like she really did understand because she'd been a part of that world, so she really should get it. And yet, no, clearly she didn't. And she flips out, and like, oh, I was floored by what she did to him. Absolutely floored. And then somehow along the way, at one point, the show was making it sound like, and all the characters were making it sound like it was his fault. Why won't you see each other and all that stuff? He was trying to see her. She was the one that was refusing to see him in the hospital. Why did it all? I was skipping a whole bunch of stuff. I started skipping everything with them because I couldn't stand it anymore. I'm like, are you kidding me? You literally are tearing everything about him that you claimed to love the most about him away from him. And you're still claiming that you love him. And no, it's not really him that's the problem. It's actually me and my own insecurities. It like kind of feels like she even pulled that card out. And even that's not true. I'm like, what? You're like literally tearing him to pieces in the name of loving him. And the exact opposite of that is Ji-chung and Yi-bing. because both of them are in this, like, Shi Yibing is a fire inspector. She's the one that goes in there and finds out what caused the fire and how they can prevent this from happening again. And he's a firefighter. And she is 100% in support of him. She supports him. She encourages him. She loves what he's, like, she doesn't love the fact that his life is on the line. But when they have to go out and put their life on the line, she holds his hand and says, I love you, be careful. She doesn't say, oh, I wish you'd stop this. Oh, this isn't fair. Oh, why do you have to do that? Oh. No, that's not what she does. It's obvious that she wishes that he could be doing a job that he's not going to be, like, risking his life for, because who wants their loved one risking their life all the time? But she understands why he's doing it and why he needs to keep doing it. And she is too. And they both understand that. And they support it and they love it and they work with it instead of working against it and against each other. So, like, they're a pretty awesome couple. A very awesome couple. So that's why those three are my favorite couples, and that's why. So, in case you can't tell, like, my favorite girls in the drama, yeah, Yoonhee was definitely my least favorite. Absolutely hated that girl. Vibratingly, angrily hate that girl. And I don't usually say I hate people. I hate that girl. Kuching, actually didn't like her. I was okay with her at first because I understood once I realized what was happening. I guessed ahead of time because of stuff that was said, and, like, I was guessing. And then once it was confirmed, I'm like, yeah, I felt for her. Oh my gosh, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But the further it went, the more I'm like, you're an absolute idiot. Dong Dong was unique. I really liked her character on one hand, but, like, I don't know why. Once she learned how to do this Spirit Clan magic again, because that's who she is, even if she doesn't have the core. But once she started using that again, I'm like, you're a kind of weird character now. This is, like, not working anymore. She was unique before. She was very uniquely Dung Dung. And then when she learned how to do the magic, it's like every 2 seconds she's trying to pour her magic into somebody and all the rest of this. And I'm like, that's, like, literally the only trick you have anymore. You are so not unique anymore. This is insane. She got really, really boring. And then I got really, really frustrated with her by the end of it. So she's not a favorite. She and Kaching are probably tied in that way. Ronghua herself, never mind the love story, Ronghua herself is probably below them. Blown away. Absolute hypocrite. Absolute self-centered. Names I can't say. He from Autumn Cicada, I kind of, in a way, I can't really form a proper opinion of her because, like, it seems like she was pretty young in that one too, but, like, you don't really get to see her a whole lot. Like, she doesn't really do a lot on her own, and, like, communist. So I don't really know where I could place her. I never had an issue with her per se. I didn't hate her and I didn't love her. I'm kind of neutral on her because there just didn't really feel like she was very strong of a... I was fine with her. And I love her attitude toward Yichang. Once it's there, and you can't shake it and you can't break it, and I absolutely love that. Zhao Ning from Miss Crow and Mr. Lizard. She's definitely lower than He Ying. He Ying is definitely way higher on the list. Because Zhao Ning, she frustrated me. Like I say, it did frustrate me to the nth degree that she kept claiming that she knew stuff and she didn't, or understood stuff and she didn't. And in a way, she's very much like, she loves the people around them and she does things for the people around them. Her friendship with her best friend girl is adorable, but at the same time, there actually is quite a self-centered aspect to her as well. Like I say, the whole relationship with Gu Chuan, as it got later on, she's like, she doesn't actually understand what he's actually going through. She never really reaches the level of really connecting what's happening with him and going, I get it, but I don't want you to die. She just, no. And she, like, shoves a bunch of aspects about him to the side, and he ends up not telling her a couple of things, and I feel like that's why, because, like, she doesn't understand it. She wouldn't agree with it because she's so selfishly against it. Like, okay, trigger warning, death, and suicide. His, like, he keeps being drawn towards suicide because of everything that he's been through in life. And I personally, like, my views on suicide have been shifting slightly. I still believe that suicide is wrong, and I have multiple reasons for why I believe it's wrong, and you know it's never, ever the right answer. But at the same time, I'm getting to have more of a deeper understanding of it, because for the first time in the last couple of years, I've actually started to understand, really actually for real understand how people get to that point and why it happens. And that's why I say Gu Chuan hit me so hard, because there is a scene where he basically commits suicide. He actually goes through with it, and he nearly dies. If his best friend hadn't been there, he'd be dead and gone. It's his best friend that saves his life at the last second. And clearly this is something that Xiaoning does not understand. And on top of not understanding it, she forcefully pushes it away so that she can't even understand it. There is a big difference between understanding something and agreeing with something. I 100% understand suicide and how people get there now, especially when it's driven by the fatigue and the complete lack of hope, etc., when it comes to continuing to live, which is what Gu Chuan was feeling. He's like, he has no hope, he has no energy. And I get that. I 100% get that. Believe me now. I get it. And Jianing doesn't. She's actually very similar to what I used to be like. So, in that way, I should understand more where she is. But the problem is, probably my big problem with it is that, well, it's clear that she does not understand it, even by the end of the drama itself seems to be implying and trying to push me to believe that she does. And I'm telling you, she doesn't. So that's really frustrating. I sincerely wish that the show had properly, like they did such an amazing job with Gu Chuan, while on the other hand, they kind of dropped it with Xiaoning, because she clearly has trauma surrounding death. And her response toward death is such a visceral reaction against it. And the drama never actually properly addresses and deals with that. And I wish they had, because if they had, there would be a much better, more stable understanding of what's actually going on. And instead, it kind of got skimmed over and just kind of left behind. And Gu Chuan learns things and grows and has a better understanding about life, and his hope is back and his reason to live is back, and all kinds of stuff is back. And yet, so Jianing is there's such a thing as toxic positivity. There's honest to goodness positivity, and there's toxic positivity. Because of her visceral reaction to her death, she has a toxic positivity about life, I'm telling you. And that's frustrating. She from Forever and Ever, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with you. And that's all really I can say. She from One and Only, I really liked her. She was really sweet. She was adorable. Jinja from Under the Power, she is so cool. Talk about a good strong woman. I really, really liked Jinja from Under the Power. And then you got Yibing from Blue Flame Assault, and there again, talk about mature, talk about experience, talk about the understanding of what is going on in life. Yibing is really cool too. So, there you go. That is basically all of it. That is already over 45 minutes long before editing. And I don't know what else to say without seriously repeating myself. So I'm not going to bother. I kind of wrote a list of least favorite to favorite dramas, but I'm not going to go through that because trying to rate the drama as a whole is so complicated. And you should be able to kind of sort of figure out a list anyway based on my least favorite to favorite characters and why, and based on my least favorite to most favorite couples and why. So there you go. That is my whole thoughts on everything that's been happening with Ren Jialun. I am eventually going to watch the White Snake drama. Possibly sooner than later because, I'm going through Jialun withdrawal. But at the moment, I am trying to watch Detective D. We'll see how well that goes, considering I can only find 14 episodes with English subtitles, and then I have to watch the rest of it with only the Hanja, and that is going to be major fatigue and frustration. Because I don't know Chinese, so vast majority of everything they do and say is going to be going seriously over my head, or I'm going to have to be pausing every sentence and using a translator to translate it. And since I can't just copy and paste it because it's on a video screen, I'm going to have to literally draw every single one of them and make it into a sentence and put it through So, and especially in that one because I have met his love interest now, but I can't form any kind of opinion whatsoever on it because I'm only 6 episodes into it, so I don't know. I've barely met her. Never mind actually seeing them as any kind of couple. And I can't watch the Tang Dynasty Emperor because there again, it's like even longer than Detective D. And again, I can only find like 14 episodes with subtitles if they're even still where I originally found them. So, that's the end of everything to do with that. Do you know who Ren Jialun is? Did you know him before this whole series? What were your thoughts on him beforehand? Did anything I say change any of your opinions on anything? If you didn't know who he was before, are you seriously interested in going and watching his stuff now? Or you're like, blah, this was mostly a waste of my time. Why did I bother watching all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Jialun is a seriously epic actor. He is really, really good actor, and he's definitely worth your time, even if the drama itself is incredibly frustrating and stupid. Even if it starts out well and then it doesn't end well or whatever. Literally the only one I could not watch was Blue Whisper. No matter how much I love Jialun so far, that's the only one that I literally can't watch, even for his sake. All the rest of them, no matter how frustrated I got with the show, his character was still epic in some kind of way. So, that's the end of that. Bye! I'm looking forward to seeing more dramas of Jialun's. Now that I've caught up with what I can for the most part, it's going to be really frustrating waiting for his dramas to release so that I can watch more of his stuff. But that's how it goes. Bye!